I'm going to teach you the only 3 things you actually need to get in the best shape of your life. I want to jump straight into this video and help you out right now, but make sure you stay to the end of the video because I'm going to give you 3 more bonus tips, and the reason I'm going to do that is so you can actually apply the information, because there's no point in knowing the information without knowing how to apply it for you. I'm James with Athlete's Ability, and my mission is to help you build muscle, lose body fat, so that you can become more happy and more confident as a result of it. I'm going to go from 3 down to number 1, and number 1's important because it's going to tie the other 2 together. Tip number 3 is to eat right. If you don't eat right, nothing's going to work. Nothing in this video, nothing in anybody else's video can work without your nutrition being on point. So let's talk about that a little bit. If your goal is to lose body fat, then the only thing I want you to focus on is being in a caloric deficit. If you don't know what that is, I'll explain right at the end of the video because I really respect everybody's time here. Also, make sure your protein is 100 grams a day at the absolute lowest. If you're overweight or obese and you're starting out, I would say 100 grams per day. If you've been training a few years, or maybe you've been training a year or so, or you're quite lean, take your body weight in pounds, times that by 1, and that's how many grams of protein you would need to eat per day. Obviously this might fluctuate. You don't have to hit the number 100%, it's just a sort of ballpark so you know where your goals are and where you're heading. On the other hand, if you want to build muscle, then you're going to want to place yourself in a caloric surplus, and the protein numbers remain the same. I'll explain what a caloric surplus is at the end of the video again so we can save some time here. And if you want some help with what type of foods to eat, in terms of protein, carbs, fats, all of those good things, and some training advice, a training program, all of those things, I have a free ebook that you can download in the description. I'll send that to you through an email and you can read that. It won't take long to read. It's packed full of information and I think you'll get a lot of value out of it. So don't forget to download that. Tip number 2 is all about training, and we're also about halfway through the video now, so make sure you stick to the end because of the bonus tips, and tip number 1 as well is very important for tying it all together. But training, if you're just starting out, it's okay to train at home. It's okay to just make a start and start to build some habits. If you want to do 50 push-ups a day, maybe you can only do 1 push-up, maybe you need to do push-ups on your knees. Whatever your situation is, that's okay, but really you want to get a gym membership. If you can afford a gym membership or your current situation allows for it, then you should make sure you go to the gym. It's a worthwhile investment, and that's how you're going to make the most gains in terms of building muscle and even losing fat, because lifting weights is also important for losing body fat. I also touch on that a little bit in the book as well, so don't forget to download that. For me, training is very, very similar whether your goal is to lose body fat or build muscle, so I'm going to tie these in together. You want to be doing compound movements. Basically, a compound movement is a bench press, a squat, a deadlift. They're 3 exercises that are classed as compound movements. Basically what that means is that you're working multiple muscle groups. So for example, on the bench press, or if you're that basic of a beginner you don't even know what the bench press is, let's take a push-up for example. So when you do a push-up or a bench press, your goal is to work the chest. We all know that. However, you are also working the shoulders and the triceps as well. Whereas, let's say you used to do a cable fly, or even any type of variation of a fly, on the pec deck even, any variation of a fly, you're specifically working the chest. Now yes, there's other little muscles that are working as well, but you're not working the shoulders, you're not working the triceps like you are when you're doing a compound movement. So obviously the concept here is the more compound movements you do, the more muscle groups you're working, the more you're going to grow, and also the more calories you're going to burn if you're trying to lose body fat. If you're starting out, you would start around anywhere between about sort of 9 or 10 sets per body part per week. If you're a little bit more advanced, you've been training a year or so, and you want to up your volume to maybe 15 sets per week, 18 sets per week per body part, then you can. For me, I do about 18 sets of chest and back because they're bigger muscle groups, but for biceps and triceps I'll actually only do about 12 sets per week. So you need to find that balance for you and find out where you are. In terms of rest time, again, it depends on your ability and your fitness level. So I would say rest anywhere between 30 and 60 seconds if you're trying to lose body fat. and if you're trying to build muscle, anywhere between 60 seconds and about a minute and a half. This, as a coach and a results coach and a personal trainer, whatever you want to associate me with, is the most important tip for me, is tip number 1, and that's the one I'm most passionate about, and it's because of this. It's the overlooked one. It's the one that people don't really care about. They don't really think about it that much, but it's, if you don't have this tip in place, the other two won't work, and that's making sure you get enough sleep. To lose body fat, especially to build muscle, we have to recover. If you're not getting at least at the absolute lowest amount of sleep, I would say anybody could get, is about 6 hours per night, and that's the absolute lowest. You know, we're all busy, I understand that, but we have to make it a priority. Sleeping 8 hours is optimal, or 9 hours is optimal for muscle growth. Now, for health, that's a totally different conversation for a different video, but for muscle growth, 8 hours sleep per night is brilliant. 7 is okay, 6 is the absolute lowest I would go, 9 is really the best, but like I said, for health, 9's not necessarily the best, but we could talk about that another time. We need sleep to recover. If you've just been to the gym and had a really big session, what happens when you go to the gym is the weight that you're using is actually tearing the muscle fibers down, and so the way that we grow, we get bigger and stronger, is when we sleep. Our body then repairs these muscle fibers, making them grow back bigger and stronger. You're basically sending a signal to your body, to your muscles, that more is required of them, that they're going to be lifting heavy weight, so that more is going to be required of them, and as a result they have to get bigger and stronger to handle that weight. In terms of fat loss, obviously we know now why sleep is so important for muscle building, but for fat loss it's also important, because if your sleep is too low, let's say you're on 4 hours a night, the problem with that is you're going to be very hungry. Not only are you awake more hours of the day, so you're going to get hungry, which means you're going to cheat on your diet, or you're going to eat way over the calories that you should be eating for the day, but also when you sleep is when your hormones are regulated. So hormones such as leptin will not be at the optimal levels, which means if your leptin is low, it's going to trigger your brain to tell your body that you're hungry. You'll get to the point then where you will go for the easiest thing. If you notice, whenever you cheat on a diet, whenever you eat foods, you always go for the chocolate, you always go for the sugar. It's because that's the quickest thing that can get into our system. It's the quickest thing that will give us an insulin spike, and that's what we want. So that's another reason that sleep's very important for fat loss. Obviously I could spend 60 minutes talking about sleep and all the different benefits of it, but we're not going to be able to do that right now. I'm now going to very quickly run through a little tip for each point to keep you on track. So for nutrition, what I would say, that my best advice I can give you is stick to a plan that you can actually stick to. For me, I love intermittent fasting. You may love keto. I don't know what you like, but you need to stick to a plan that you can actually stick to, so it doesn't feel like a diet. I've set my diet up in such a way that I don't cheat because I enjoy it. I eat sweet potatoes, I eat beef, I eat white rice. I enjoy those foods. That's the type of foods I like to eat. So that's what you have to do. There is healthy foods that taste good, but obviously everybody likes different foods, so you need to find out what the healthy foods are for you and implement them into your nutrition plan. And also, if you're trying to lose body fat, you have to track your calories, just for a few weeks even, just so that you know where you're at and you can actually weigh yourself every week and see the progress that you're making. My biggest tip for training is don't focus on the next guy. Don't focus on trying to be better than everybody else. Focus on doing the exercise correctly. Exercise and weightlifting is one of the healthiest things you can do for your body if you do it correctly. If you go to the gym and start throwing weight around, trying to be a tough guy, trying to make people look at you, not that anybody's looking at you anyway, you're just going to end up injuring yourself. And if you don't experience those injuries in the next 2 years, you might in the next 20 years. That's when it catches up with you. So you need to make sure that your form is extremely strict. If you're a beginner, if you understand the form, you can go a little quicker if that's the training style that you like, or your plan suggests that you should do the movement quicker, but you should be very, very strict with your movements. You should be coming extremely slow. It shouldn't be a race. It shouldn't be how much weight can I lift. I always say that you want to be in control of the weight should not be controlling you. A massive tip for sleep is to go to bed at the same time every night if you can. Most people can, not everybody can, but set a sleep schedule. Go to bed at 10 p.m, 11 p.m. Whatever your schedule is around work and school, go to bed at the same time every time, because if you do that, then you know, okay, I'm going to go to bed at 10, I'm going to wake up at 6, that's my 8 hours, or I'm going to wake up at 5, or whatever that is for you. And if you can't do that because your schedule's out of whack, I'm going to give you an extra little bit as well, which is, let's say your schedule's way out of whack and you sleep during daylight, get blackout curtains, get the little masks that you put on your eyes, make the room as black as you can. Your brain's going to think that that light is the sun, and you're going to want to wake up. Also, you're not going to be as optimal in terms of your hormones when you're exposed to light when you're trying to sleep. Don't forget, what am I doing with this thing? Don't forget to come back for Monday's video, where I'm going to talk about a few things that I wish I knew when I first started. It's going to be a really good video and probably quite embarrassing, but it's going to help you out. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the little bell notification so you get that notification on Monday.